Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dina, and I'm one of the team here at Elderwerks Educational Services. We are honored and so excited to have Marie Claude here today presenting on Our Words Matter. Just a friendly reminder that this event is being recorded and will be posted to Facebook and to YouTube for your future viewing pleasures. Elderworks is a non-for-profit 501c3 organization, and our mission is to provide resources, referrals, information, aging counseling for seniors and their families so they can all age well. Please add any of your questions to the chat box today as we go through the discussions and the presentation. And Marie Claude will be answering those questions at the end of our presentation today. Marie Claude is going to share results of more than 25 years of her work in this field of research. She's going to share with us the importance of language used during critical lifetimes when seniors face changes in their autonomy and need to adapt and adjust. There is so much more to Marie Claude than that, but I'm going to turn this presentation over to her at this point, and let her introduce herself. I'm going to unmute you. Unmute yourself.
Thank you so much, Dina. Thank you for having me this afternoon. I hope everybody can hear me. Can you guys hear me? Yes? Okay. So I'm from Montreal. I just arrived in the Chicago area. I'm attending a conference this weekend for senior move management. So I know Jennifer Perel, and I reached out to her when I was coming to Chicago to see if I could share a message with you guys. It's a message that's dear to my heart, and I'm going to share it with you. So our words matter, and empowering language shifts in perspectives when a senior faces a change in their autonomy. So let's dive in together. And please, if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to put your hand up and ask. We can discuss it as we go along, and we can also have a discussion afterwards at the end. Let's just see. Sorry, just trying to change my screen. So who am I? I used to work in senior living as a director of activities. I loved doing it, but when I became a mother, I wanted to be a full-time mother and continue working with seniors. So I started my own business called Helping Seniors, and I consider myself to be a stay or move consultant. When somebody faces a change in their autonomy and they have to adjust, whether to age at home or to relocate. In the world, wherever I visit senior living products. So I've gone in different parts of the world, and I visited about 500 different senior living options, always in the private sector. I've written a couple books based on my experience. My first book is Stay or Move, How to Talk to a Senior about their changing needs in retirement residences. And my second book is Grandma's Place. We'll talk about that later. I've worked with seniors for more than 30 years. I was 5 years old and I wanted to work with seniors. So for me, it's always been, when I'm asked what my dream job is, this is my dream job. I'm doing exactly what I've always wanted to do. And truly in my lifetime is to create change for seniors. Aging is a journey. We all age. We're all aging right now, and together we're going to age together for about an hour. But nobody talks about it. It's often a very silent journey. And if I put my hand up, I think I hold the answer as to why there is a lot of silence. And I'm trying to change that, because I think if we have sounding boards and discuss aging, discuss our plans, how we're planning for aging and how we're doing it, I think that if we pay attention to our language, that we can change that silence. And that's really what my wishes are. So as an introduction, I didn't know when I started my business that this is what I was doing, But I think I've ended up doing a field research of 25 years from visiting different senior living options in different parts of the world, from working with so many different seniors in different situations, that I've realized that I have done a field research and paid attention to the language that we use. So together we're going to dive in to a poster presentation that I did. And my premise is that the words that are currently used when discussing senior living or change in autonomy are belittling, forceful, and treat seniors as objects. And I'm going to share with you how I've come to that conclusion. This is the poster. So I wanted to do a presentation last year at the Canadian Association of Gerontology. They were meeting in Toronto. I wasn't accepted for a presentation. I pouted, but then they accepted me for a poster presentation. So I said, okay, let's do it. It was so challenging to do, to take all the information that I have to put it in a legible type of setup that made sense. I was also amongst a whole bunch of scientific people, so it kind of had to be like a little bit scientific. I don't feel like I'm scientific. I really feel that it's a lot from the heart. But if the heart has science, then that's my approach. So the objectives, and sorry, I'm just going to move this over a sec. The objectives and the goals is to identify the change in our vocabulary that facilitate discussions with seniors and their families when there is a change in autonomy, and to encourage the industry and their professionals and to reflect on the language that we use so that we can create positive change. So all of this is what I needed to kind of put into place for my poster. And that's how I came to the language that I have today, because I've really been massaging it and working at it. So where have I been? I've been in Canada. I've been in the States. So wherever I go in the States, I visit senior living and I talk about aging and I listen to the type of language that is being used. I've also been to Europe, in Portugal. I've been in Belgium. I've been to France. I've been to different places in Europe. And who have I been listening to as well as seniors and their family. When I visit senior living, I discuss the language that we use. And then the professionals in the field of aging. And it's always very baffling to me how consistent it is, no matter what language they're translating to or from, it always ends up being the same language. So I've come to realize that it's all pretty consistent. So the methodology that I've used, if we can call it that, I have worked with more than 300 clients over the 25 years. I've always been a small business. My goal was really to raise my family. So I've just recently turned on my business since my kids have left for CEGEP in college and university. Different cultural backgrounds, financial setups, marital statuses. I've pretty well touched a variety of capacities in where they're living, how they're living, who they're living with, what their setups are like. So a wide variety from being alcoholic with memory loss, a smoker, amputee, couples, people with dependent children, rural settings, the city, such a variety of setups ranging from an age of about 63, and I have 101 there, but it was 106. All people really hesitating to call me because nobody ever wants to call somebody like me because they all think that they're going to be forced into this corner and just, it's not a fun conversation. So there's a lot of silence and nobody wants to open the door to that. My goal is to change that and create quite the surprise and make it good on this journey when they do face a change in their autonomy. So with who have I had these conversations? So seniors, senior living, family, the industry, medical professionals and doctors, anybody who touches a senior or is involved with a senior is somebody that I've dealt with. So I'm alone in my business. So I am really in their basements. I am in their house. I'm in every aspect of their house to help them relocate when they are relocating. They are in my car. I can be at the medical office with them. I've also paid attention to what the media is saying and how they, the language that they use at trade shows. So really a wide brush and a wide array of setups is what I have witnessed, which has been really cool for me to gather this information. So the approach for me, which is so crucial and so important, is to keep the client in the center of every conversation. Unfortunately, this is a lady, and I say unfortunately, this lady, so delightful. I drove about an hour and a half out away from my office to go and help her downsize, to help her find senior living. She was rural and she came to the city. It was a big move for her, but she wanted to come closer to doctors. She looked at me at one point and she said, "It's because of you that I don't have a car. I sold it. I don't have a house. I sold it. And I'm living in senior living." I've been there so many times for this lady at fragile steps when her autonomy is changing, but just to make sure that everything is okay and remains in place so that at night, when she goes to bed, I know that she's feeling safe and secure and well supported. And I know that she's going to have a meal in the morning. And I know that her medication is going to be taken care of. It's not easy, but when it's done properly, and with a good approach and with good language, I think it could be done really well. So this is Sheila, who I took a picture of her after she told me, yeah, it's because of you, all of these things. She knows that it was done well, but this task or this stage in life is quite challenging because we are very vulnerable. So for me, client-centered means when I'm speaking with a senior, how are my shoulders? Are they square onto the senior or am I turned and I'm talking to the daughter? If the senior is in the room and this conversation is about them, I want to keep my shoulders, my heart open to them, and I'll turn my head to the daughter to pay attention to her and make sure that she is heard. But I always turn back to the senior in the room to make sure that they remain the core and the focus of this conversation. Honor the senior's wishes. What are we doing with this vase? Is Susan getting it? Do you want to move it? What do you want to do with it? If Mrs. has told me that she wants to move these glasses, but her son is like, yeah, no, she doesn't want those. She doesn't need them. Well, your mother said she wanted to move them. How about we move them? And at the other end, we can get rid of them if she doesn't want them after that. But really to stand in and protect what the senior wants, I think that's really important. There are always a lot of politics that happens in these conversations, but it's important to stand in and protect the senior as much as possible. One big thing for me is consent. It is crazy how we don't ask consent. I've been sitting in seniors' homes, the front door opens where nobody knocked. The caregiver was coming in to give a shower to the gentleman sitting at the end of the hall. She had her earpods in. She was walking directly into the house and going to see him. As his wife is telling me, he doesn't like it when she comes into the house to give him a bath. I don't blame that gentleman. There was no consent to come into their house. She never greeted the person sitting at the table. All of these consents. Can I come into your house by knocking and waiting till they answer, right? Can I open your drawer? Can I speak to Susan for you? All of these little asks and tasks, we need to have consent for the senior that we're helping. It empowers them and it makes sure that we get an okay. If they say, no, I don't want you to speak to Susan about this, then we have to respect that, right? But we have to get consent every time to make it easier. And it's also for me a zone of no judgment. The senior might not be doing what I think is best for them, but this is their life, not mine. I have to go with what their wishes are and stand in to protect that as much as possible, which is not always easy. But if I don't find it attractive what I see, then my thought process is that I shouldn't do that for myself in my aging process, and I should adapt. It's important to build trust every step of the way. Trust, I think, is gained and held by obtaining consent and making sure that they are seen and not seen through. And checking to understand that they have understood. They might not have heard me. They might not understand all the steps that are happening, but to take a step back and maybe say it differently and pay attention to their body language to make sure that they have understood, or ask them to say it back to me, right? And my goal is really to meet them where they are. That lady that I helped move, I knew that when she was moving, her setup in the bathroom, where she had a wall and a counter, that setup in the bathroom at her new space would be very different because there was no wall and there was no wall. She didn't want her bathroom adapted before she moved. I had to go easy with her because I knew that if I went, we need the adapted equipment first, all of this, she needed to use her bathroom by herself and to see and to recognize, oh, I need help here. Okay, the minute that she puts her hand up and says she needs help, then to go in and make it easier for her. And then we adapted the bathroom quite quickly because after day one, she saw that she had difficulty with it. One of the big things that I find is the language. And if we modify our language, and I'll share with you what I've been hearing and how if we tweak it just a little bit, how it can help. When I was doing the poster presentation and I was writing it and getting it ready, I've always thought that there's a lot of bullying in the conversation. And my daughter at the dinner table challenged me. She said, Mom, I don't think it's bullying. Bullying is more peer-to-peer, right? It's in high school, it's at work, it's amongst our siblings. Bullying is more peer-to-peer, but what you're telling me is not peer-to-peer. It's different levels of people. And I said, so if it's not bullying, then what is it? Like, I have the presentation next week. I need to have the poster ready. And it was such a challenging conversation. This whole poster was very challenging for me, the whole process of it. Then I said, so if it's not bullying, what is it? Because I need to have a word. And I looked up in a thesaurus and I found bulldozing. And I got so excited by the image. First of all, I love construction and I love seeing that visual. And it was so impactful for me because what I hear is a lot of bulldozing. And let's look to see what that's like. And I share this with you because this process for myself has been fine-tuning itself, and I keep fine-tuning it. I used to say it's a loss of autonomy. Now I say it's a change in autonomy. Who am I to say that you've lost something? When something has changed for you, that doesn't mean you've lost something. So if we continue fine-tuning our language, I think we can finesse it that much more. And putting my hand on bulldozing was one big moment for me where I fine-tuned it that much more. I'm gonna hold back. I'm gonna ask you to close your eyes if you're feeling safe, and I'm gonna read some words to you. This is what we currently use. You must, we're gonna force you, we'll make you, we shoved her, there was no choice, we put or placed them, and you have to. To me, to my ears, to my heart, that sounds so heavy. And if I come into my mother's home and I say, Mom, we're gonna place you, her arms cross and she doesn't want to talk to me and the conversation is closed. You can open your eyes. And what I encourage us to use are more empowering words that will enhance this journey so much more. If we use words like adapt, adjust to help, that there are options, that we can find solutions. What if you relocate? How about light sizing or right sizing and encouraging somebody to do so? So instead of forcing or shoving and making people do something, what if we send out an invitation and soften our approach. But by doing so, we encourage the senior who's at the core of this conversation. They've never been here before. This is their first time here at 86. They don't know what it's like. They're not used to walking so slow or not hearing as well or being a little bit confused, just like you and I aren't. We've never lived today, right? And as we face changes, it's always very challenging to face them because we have to adapt and we have to adjust, and we do so throughout our whole lives. But nobody necessarily talks about it because there isn't that much of a change in autonomy, or we don't stand as alone in that situation. So I encourage us to move towards empowering language, which is to me new and improved in the industry from what I hear. So the results, the way that I see them, is that when forceful and dehumanizing language is used, when speaking with seniors and their families, a clear difference is observed in their body language compared to more positive alternatives. I was at a dining room table at a lady's house. She was there with her 2 children. They sat on one side of the table and she sat at the head. I was at the other end of that table, so it was a pretty long distance between the 2 of us. This lady's body language, with her children laughing at her and saying, "Come on, mom, you got to get over it." Her shoulders were hunched, her head was down, her chin was in, and her eyes were hardly looking up. We had just come through COVID. She had just widowed. She was living a depression. Her house was way too big for her. It had stories, and she was falling more and more. She didn't know what to do, and she didn't know how to move forward. But her children kept challenging her and saying, "Come on, just do it. Like, come on, you're going to have to. We're going to make you. This is it." I was with her for an hour and a half, and that slight difference in this lady's body language from closed to much more opened. And then when it came to the time of visiting senior living, she got so excited by it. Her body was leaning in and she was excited to take on this new adventure, though it was scary. So when forceful words are used, what I've noticed is that there's a lot of resistance to discuss this conversation that's very heavy. There's conflict between seniors and loved ones. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it. We'll talk about it some other time. I'm too tired. No, I don't want to. There's a lot of closed body language. And then what I hear is, my mother is so stubborn. My parents are so stubborn. I don't know how to go about it. I think we're all very stubborn, right? We all know what we want. And it's for others to listen to how to help us. There also seems to be a lot of helplessness and despair because people don't know how to go about it in terms of this conversation. I think because of the language that we use. And there's a lot of withdrawn body language, like I noticed that day in the dining room. And I've seen that so many times. I've had so many seniors fall into my arms when I open the door. I'm a total stranger. I've never met them, but they feel this warmth. They see my shoulders and how open I am. And they just cry and they don't know how to go about it. And I think there's a different way to go about it. And I'd love to see that happen. So when there's encouraging language use and empowering language, what I notice is that there is a willingness to engage. There's a desire to move forward. And there is a big sigh that goes, finally, finally I can see what I can do. Finally, I can see that this can be fun and a fun approach about it. And the body language really relaxes. I really notice how their shoulders relax, how their nervous system is a lot calmer. And it's so delightful to see. Makes me happy anyways. So when we're using empowering language, when a senior feels seen and heard and is in the center of the conversation, talked to like a valued person and talked about like a valued person, and are asked for consent. I'm going to ask again to please ask for consent. I've seen so many people go into their parents' purse without asking for consent when they go for a medical card or something like that. How hard is it to say, can I go into your wallet to get your card to give to the doctor? Is it okay? I don't want you to come into my purse, right? I think consent is one really big word that we need to do, and it's a small action to do for everything that we do. When all of this is obtained, the senior can remain engaged in the process and more amenable to find solutions, to adapt and adjust to their new realities and current needs. We all have new realities, and we all have current needs. For anybody who's going through a divorce, a fire, a death, all of us are constantly adapting and adjusting to our current needs and our new realities, because every turn in life is also new. Even a student going to university, living in residence, that's a new reality for them, right? We don't use heavy language for them. I don't know why we do so for seniors. As a conclusion, for future directions, so I was looking for funding at one point, and I went to see a gentleman. He was involved in politics, and I said, hey, I think maybe I could go and ask him, if I'm looking for funding, what avenues could I use? And the first thing that he told me, he's like, well, if you want to change the language, then call the Oxford Dictionary. I'm like, the Oxford Dictionary? I didn't think of changing the dictionary. He's like, well, if you want us to modify our language, then modify the dictionary, because that's where we go to for our source. Wow. I grew up with a father who reads the dictionary, and if I'm going to change the dictionary, that's pretty impactful. But I had to tell you, I did find a dictionary in Montreal for the French word to place. The suggestion of the sentence is to place a senior in a retirement residence. I don't know why that is. To me, to put or to place is an object. People, seniors, you and me are not objects to be put or placed somewhere. We all have needs. No matter how I tie my shoe the way that I do. If I can't, could you please? My language shouldn't be heavy and negative because I'm having difficulty tying my shoe, right? So for me, updating dictionaries to modify the definitions of to place and to put. And I hope after our presentation or our time today that you listen to how people talk about seniors when there is a change in their autonomy. You will most likely hear, we need to put them, we placed her on the second floor in the hospital. So I don't know what your placement forms are called in the States or in Illinois. For me, in Montreal, it is a placement form. I would love that to be a current needs form. Isn't that kinder to the ear and more engaging for the person who's in a hospital bed who might not be going back home after a stroke? My current needs form? Oh, I can't have stairs. Oh, I need to help be fed, or whatever it might be. Not like, it's a placement form and we're going to push you off to the side, because that's what it sounds like. Sounds like that to my ear anyways, and to my heart. And I'd love to change that. When you read articles in the media and the newspaper or in TV shows, often we place seniors somewhere. There's one person that I've met through this whole research, and it's actually Jennifer from here. When I was talking to Jennifer about what I was doing, and she's like, no, we don't place seniors. We help them move. We help them relocate. Jennifer, of all the people that I've spoken with, is the only one who's told me that. And I was like, wow, in Chicago, they don't place seniors. I'm very happy to hear that. And that was really, really cool. In conclusion, and I hope you have questions, and if you want to engage, please do. In conclusion, replacing forceful words with positive and encouraging ones can have a tangible impact on seniors who are adapting to their current needs and new realities. Changing our words opens difficult conversations and stops bulldozing in its tracks. I know that one word at a time, we can empower our seniors, and the message, our word matters, is my life mission. I will do it one person at a time and encourage one person at a time to change that word. Just the other day, I was shopping actually for this outfit that I'm wearing, and the sales lady said, I'm going to put you in front of the mirrors. I thought that was very kind of her to have me go try the clothes in front of the mirrors. And I came out and I said to her, how about you set me up in front of the mirrors? Doesn't setting me up in front of the mirror sound so much nicer than putting me somewhere? I truly don't think that the word put or place should be linked to a person, not just seniors. It's often used with seniors, but I know that we often use it for people as well. And I'm trying to understand how wide I'm trying to change this language of to put into place. But I really think that we should reserve the word to put into place for an object. That's my presentation, and I want to share with you. I've written a children's book. I've also illustrated a children's book to deliver this message. I know that it's not a message that many people want to hear, because it's just language that is so well established. It's actually my children who helped me understand that if I wanted to create change and to do so in a very deep grassroots fashion, that it would be with a generation who hasn't dealt with it yet. My parents have moved. So if I use the word to put or to place, then that is done for me already, right? And for my parents, there is no other language that they have access to other than that. So what I've done is I've written a children's book. It's titled Grandma's Place. And I share proudly with you that I did an art course in New York. And just last week, I'm an alumni of that art school. And I won an award. It's my second one for one of the illustrations in the book. I'm not here to sell the book. I'm not here to promote the book. For me, it's really all about the message that is within the book that I would love for us to share, so that together, if we talk about when we have new realities and current needs, that our language be empowering, kind, and that we keep the person at the heart of the conversation, the one that's going through it. And I have a gift. So we're going to do a draw for a copy of Grandma's Place. I don't know how it's going to work for people who are online, but what I thought, before we get into any questions, if there are any, October 1st is International Seniors Day. So I'm trying to do a splash for that. And I was wondering if anybody has a birthday on October 1st. If not on October 1st, the closest day to October 1st. When's your birthday? November 28th. November 28th. We have November 28th.
We don't have any questions in the chat, but what I can do is, from those that are in person and those that are online, give me a second and I will get you a winner. We just had one of our individuals in the chat tell us that her birthday is October 1st. So happy birthday, Donna.
Happy birthday, Donna. Donna, I'd love to give you a copy of Grandma's Place. And on the screen, you'll see an image, which is Grandma that is in the story. And if you notice the perspective that I wanted is for us to look up to seniors. So that's why we're lower than her. And the pillar for me is that seniors are our pillars, and that we need to honor the seniors and respect them and use respectful language with, about, and for them. And that's one of the reasons that image is built that way, specifically for that pillar, and so that we look up to our seniors. That's one of the illustrations, yeah. So the illustration, they're all done by collage. So if you look closely to the image, it's all ripped paper and glued in place. Took me 6 years to do. But as it took me the time to do it, it helped me finesse it that much more, the message, the approach. And my actual goal is to have the illustrations travel by themselves to deliver the message that our words matter. So I built the illustrations so that they could travel by themselves without the words in the book, to come to the last page, which is our words matter. To show that connection with the granddaughter and the grandmother. And that even though the grandmother might have difficulty with the stairs, a sore back, she's still grandma. She's not a thing, right?
I want to thank everybody for joining us today via Zoom. For those of you that are here with us in person, we'll go to more questions in person. And congratulations to Ms. Donna please reach out to us here at the Elderworks Center. You have won the book.
Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much.